We begin with breaking news. The U.S. West Coast, including our local counties, is under an unusual tsunami watch following a massive earthquake in Russia.
Again, this is a tsunami watch, not a warning, but it has people taking notice at this hour. The quake struck in the waters off the Kamchatka Peninsula in eastern Russia, measured at a massive 8.7 magnitude. For Hawaii and the U.S. West Coast, we are again under a tsunami watch, which means there is a potential tsunami threat. It's an alert to be prepared just in case.
And here to break this all down is Dr. Lucy Jones, our earthquake expert. Dr. Lucy, break down the quake and the watch and what this all means. And thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Sure. All right. Magnitude 8.7 only occurs on the really big faults that are called subduction zones. So this is on a subduction zone off the east coast of Russia. To be that large means a very large quantity of water has been displaced, and this is the type of event that does create tsunamis to be, received on the other side of the ocean. The warnings that have been issued by the National Tsunami Warning Program, which is part of NOAA, includes a warning of greater than 3 meters, so 10 feet potentially for Russia, and 1 to 3 meters, which is 3 to 10 feet, for Hawaii. Hawaii actually has a warning at this point, as does the westernmost of the Aleutian Islands. The Aleutian Peninsula is what's called an advisory. So let's watch and see how big this tsunami really gets. And the rest of us are at a watch, which is, let's see what happens. We may or may not get here. Tsunamis travel at something like 500 to 600 miles an hour. So about the same speed as an airplane crossing the ocean. So to get from Kamchatka to California is going to be 10 hours, maybe more. And that'll be part of the advisory as it's going through. I have seen that the Hawaii warning suggests that it'll reach Hawaii at about 7:15 Hawaiian time, which is 10:15 p.m. here. And of course, then it would have to keep on coming out to us.
So, Dr. Jones, the quake was centered sub 160 miles from Hokkaido, which would be the northernmost big island of Japan. And according to local news reports there in Japan, it was felt in Hokkaido only slightly. What does that tell you, if anything?
Well, it does suggest, right, so earthquake has an epicenter, which is where it begins, but it happens over a fault surface that might be, in the case of an 8.7, I would think is probably at least 300 miles long. Right? And so did it rupture from the epicenter south towards Japan? If it was only felt slightly in Hokkaido, it couldn't have gotten very far down the rupture zone, and maybe it ruptured more to the north. It's really too early. We don't have enough data to say what was the pattern of rupture yet. But the USGS also creates something called PAGER, which is a rapid assessment of the potential losses in an earthquake based on these things I was just saying to you. If it's an 8.7, it's at least 300 miles long. Well, those are standard relationships that we know are true for the different types of earthquakes, and therefore we can estimate what the shaking level would be at different locations and compare that to population. And that's what PAGER has done. And the PAGER assessment right now, of course, data can change, but right now they're saying probably at least $10 billion in losses, economic losses from this, with likely fatalities between 10 and 100 people.
Wow.
And that's not based on any information from the site itself. It's solely on what we know about the characteristics of earthquakes.
Right. And so, we have here, as you mentioned, a watch, not a warning, here in California and up and down the coast, the West Coast here. But there are obviously vulnerable communities like Malibu, Santa Monica, Venice, Long Beach, the South Bay. I could go on. But, how vulnerable are these communities, even if it's going to come 10 hours later?
Not too bad, because the most likely approach, and we'll get more information as this develops, is that the actual amount of water to get in here is going to be not that, by the time it travels all the way over. And the good news in California is we have a lot of cliffs. So if you have a 1 meter tsunami, that means if you're more than 1 meter above sea level, which is only 3 feet, you're not going to get hit, right? And I do believe, I haven't seen it yet. I was just trying to check really quickly. The forecast would be that the amount of water actually rising up by the time you get here is going to be very small. For Hawaii, they're saying 1 to 3 meters. So that's 3 to 10 feet. That's more noticeable. But even think, what's 10 feet above sea level, right? Even at 10 feet, you maybe get to Lincoln Boulevard, and there's extremely unlikely that it would be that high here. We'll have to wait and see what develops over the next 5 hours. They'll get a lot more information as things are recorded. They have deep water buoys where they can measure what the actual size is, and that information will help you refine the message by quite a bit. But we've done modeling for what a big tsunami coming into Southern California would be. When I was with the U.S. Geological Survey, we created something called the Safer Tsunami Scenario. And we did it with a really big earthquake in Alaska, which is sort of like the biggest that we could get to come into this area. And in most locations, we were getting 1 or 2 blocks in from the ocean. In fact, what the really big damage is most likely to be is actually for marinas. Because even though the water might not rise up that high, the currents become very strong. And so what we'll see is a lot of damage to piers or boats that are anchored offshore. If they're far enough offshore, then it's just a slight rise in sea level. It's not a big deal. But if they're in harbor, then we can see a lot more damage. So that would be the thing that would be watched for. And I think that the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach are going to be looking at what the predictions are, because that's where you could get currents going through the harbor and potentially doing some damage.
I'm trying as best I can to put this into context. I know, Dr. Jones, you're an ardent student of history in your field. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. The 1952 9.0 quake in Kamchatka, the same region, caused damage but no reported deaths. Now, a 9.0, many times stronger than this earthquake, but 30-foot waves were reported in Hawaii following that. Trying to compare it, I know you can't compare an 8.7 to a 9, but a 9, again.
Well, you can. I mean, and especially, I'm not sure I don't think with the more modern determination of magnitude, that 9 might only be an 8.8.
Okay.
We do a much better job now than we did in the 50s of estimating the total. And you say 30 feet, that's basically what's being predicted right now for Hawaii.
Okay.
They're saying they're saying 1 to 3 meters, not 10 meters.
Right.
So the modeling that NOAA does now is very good. I don't think they have it completely done. I think we're going to be seeing updates over the next few hours that would show us whether or not that's likely to be so. So it might be that, I mean, an 8.7 to 9, if it really was a 9 back then, that implies about about 3 times as much energy being released, so 3 times as much water. And but that doesn't necessarily lead to straight height, right? Everything spreads out, and it's a complex modeling job, which I'm sure those models are being started now, but it does take some time to that level of computation to calculate exactly how water is moving across the whole Pacific. It doesn't happen in just a few minutes.
All right, Dr. Lucy Jones, we really do appreciate your time tonight. I know that you're very busy, and we, have a lot of information that we got from you, and I think it's also a really good reminder, to have an evacuation plan ready for your family, even though it's just a, watch right now, just in case it goes to...
If you live right at the coast.
Right.
Yeah.
People get I've had people ask me about tsunamis in Pasadena.
Right.
We're 600 feet above sea level. It's not going to happen.
All right, Dr. Jones, good to see you. Thanks for taking the time with us tonight.
All right, let's go.